The name Hebrew, where does it really come from and what does it really mean? Well, if anybody does research into the name Hebrew and they go into the English scriptures, I like to use a program named eSword. In eSword, I can simply type in a word and it will start showing in order from when the word first occurs a list of the verses where the word is. And the first word, or I should say the first verse that came up for the word Hebrew was Genesis 14:13. And it is written, "And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew." There's more to that verse, but this topic is about the name Hebrew. Now, if you use the King James Version Plus like I do, and you click on the link for the word Hebrew, what comes up is the Hebrew word H5680, which is Ibery or Ivory, depending on how you want to pronounce it, but it's definitely not Hebrew. There is no H sound. There is no letter that would have possibly made an H sound. There's only a couple of letters that actually make the H sound, and one is actually the cha, which nowadays is known as the chet or the het, and that's why it's known as the het, is because it's commonly used as an H sound. The other one is the ha symbol, which is also known as the hey symbol and has the H sound. So in actuality, Ibery could not be correct with the name Hebrew. There is a connection to Ibery or Ivory, but it's not that direct. It's not that, okay, we're a Hebrew, so we're saying that our lineage is that of Ibery. Well, in a sense it is, but it misses the point. And the reason it misses the point is because names denote the character. So to know what the character of the name Hebrew is, you have to look at the proper name where it actually came from. Now, if you do the research like I just did, you come up with the word Ibery or Ivory, and that has a pictograph meaning. But in the diction meaning, it says an Eberite, that is Hebrew or descendant of Eber. But there's other ways of finding further by then looking at the word Eber. So we look at the word Eber, which is H5677, and it says the same as 5676, the name of 2 patriarchs and 4 Israelites, and then it has 2 names. One is Eber and one is Heber with an H. So people automatically associate, well, you know, that's just the way that it is, that name is pronounced Heber. No, that's not so. There is a connection between Eber and Heber, but Heber is still a different name. So the next thing to do is to look up the word Heber, because we want to know what the name Hebrew means. So we look up the name Heber, and we can find that the name Heber has several meanings. I actually found 3 meanings, and it goes from H2266 to H2267 to H2268, and we're going to look at all those meanings. So let's start at, what do we want to start at? I guess it really doesn't matter. We'll start here. It's kind of backwards, but we'll start at the higher number. H2268. Heber or Cheber. Like I said, it's the chet or the het symbol, which is the first letter. And this is actually where the name Hebrew would come from. So, it means community. The name of a Kenite and of 3 Israelites. Heber. So, a person of the group would be a Heberite, which, you know, it got translated and changed and altered to Hebrew. As there is no it anyhow. Let's get that straight. Because there's a lot of ites that are out there. Israelite, Heberite, Eberite. There's all kinds of ites, but those ites were never there originally. Those were all new suffixes that were added. Anyhow. So we go on to the next one, H2267. A society, also a spell. That's magic, right? A spell. That's witchcraft. So the name Cheber is a society and also a spell. It's a charmer, an enchantment, or a company. That's interesting. So the name Hebrew also means a spell, a society. But what's this third meaning here? Okay, the third meaning, H2266. It says a primitive root. A primitive root, you know, when you start talking roots and primitives, that's going back towards the original diction meanings, as far back as can be discovered and is known. And the primitive root means to join, literally or figuratively. Specifically, by means of spells, to fascinate, to charm, to be compact, to couple together, to have fellowship with, heap up, join, self, together, and league. But specifically by the means of spells. So what we're talking about is witchcraft. And documentation, diction, documentation of the name Hebrew is associated with a community of people under a witch's spell, and a community of people involved in spells and witchcraft. And that's what Hebrew really is. Now, Heber and Eber, the connection between the two comes through the name Beriah. And in Genesis 46:17, the sons of Asher, Jimnah, Isha, and Isu, and Beriah, and Sarah, their sister, and the sons of Beriah, Heber and Malchi. Now, if you look at Beriah, you can see that it's apparently from the feminine with prepositional prefix, means in trouble, in the name of 4 Israelites. Yeah, I suppose if a person finds the name Beriah and Heber, that yeah, there's trouble, because people are going to find out the truth. And these people don't want people to find out the truth, because if they find out the truth, then why would anybody be part of such a thing? Why would anybody be part of a known witches group where the members are gathered together because they are under a spell? Now, we have a modern type situation that happened where there were a large group of Hebrews, which was a community or society under a spell, and it is today known as the Holocaust. Now, some people might think I'm crazy now that I just mentioned that, but no, they're wrong. Now, the evidence of the Holocaust and the Hebrews and the fact that it was a group of people under a spell was that Star of David that was always placed on the jacket. And people say, well, yeah, that's a Star of David. That's why they had it, because they're Jews, and that was a representation. Yeah, well, it's a hexagonal star. It represents a hex. Okay? That's what it represents. It represents a hex, a spell that was put on the people. And if you know the story of the Holocaust, and I'm talking about the Holocaust of recent times, the World War II Holocaust that started in Germany, if you know the story of that, you know that those people were gathered together like sheep. They were under a spell. They thought one thing was going to happen, but another thing happened. The same with the Hebrews. If you look back, and you look back when the Israelis, which people call Israelites, were in Babylonian captivity, they wrote what was known as the Babylonian Talmud. And the last grouping of writings in the Babylonian Talmud is known as the Tract Hagio. And also in parentheses, if you look this up, you can easily find it online now, is the name Holocaust. The Tract Hagio is the Holocaust. The word Hagio is a Greek word. And as we know that the Hebrews and the Greeks mixed their culture together at the time the New Testament was written. They were fully entwined with one another in their language. And hagios comes from the Hebrew word chag. Hagios means an awful thing. Chag means the victim of a sacrifice, a festival thereof. That's why they have them into spells, because who in their right mind will be part of some religious group that ritually sacrifice their own people? You'd have to be a pretty sick son of a gun to join into something like that. Now, granted, the people that are born in that society, they don't have a whole lot of a choice. But the people that join in certainly must be under a spell. Same today as it was back then.